talk about multiple representations. All right, so when I say multiple representations, I'm talking about how to present data given from an equation. All right, so here is our equation. This is actually our first way to present data. All right, so the first way that we can present data to somebody would be to use an equation. All right, and from this equation, we can go and we can create many different representations of the same data. All right, so let's use this equation, y equals 2x plus 5. All right, so a way that we look at data a lot in algebra and geometry and all of our math classes, and even in our real life, the way we examine data, a lot of people will make a table. All right, so here's our table. All right, a table. Put equation here. We're going to make a table, all right? And when we have a table, we have x on one side and y on the other. We know that our x's are independent, our y's are dependent, so we can fill in our table, 1, 2, 3. And then when we do this, we can take our x value, plug it into where our x is, and find our y. So we would say 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 5 would be 7. Then we use 2. 2 times 2, because we're putting that value right here, where x would be 2 times 2 plus 5 is 9. And then we would have 2 times 3, which is 6 plus 5, which is 11. All right? We can do this forever. We could go down here to 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 20 plus 5 is 25. All right? And we can go on forever into the negatives and forever into positives to infinity if we wanted to. All right? Let's replace our x. All right? The next way that we see quite often, is to use what's called a graph. And a graph is very similar. It has basically the same idea. Well, it is the same idea. We're still using the same equation. All right? And what we would do is we would take our data, and each one of these ticks equals 1 forward, plus 1, and then each one back is minus 1 on our x value. This is our y value. Up and down, up is plus, down is minus. So we could take points, and we would say at x1 here, we know that our y would equal 7. So we can take that and put it on our graph as a point. All right? At 0, 2 times 0 would be 0, plus 5 is 5. We put a point there and continue on our graph. And what this creates is a line. And this is why we call this a linear equation, because when we graph it, it creates a line. So this is our graph. Again, it's just taking our points of x and finding our points for y. All right, the next way that we can look at this is called set notation. Set notation. All right? So basically all set notation is we're going to take our plot points, or the groups from our table or our graph that we have, and we're going to list them side by side. 1, 7, 2, 9, 3, 11, 10, 25. All right? This is set notation. Again, when we're listing our plot points, our x value goes first, our y value goes second. All right? My fifth way to look at my data is called a mapping diagram. A mapping diagram. A mapping diagram looks like this. We have two bubbles. Alright, we have two bubbles and our x values go in one and my y values go in the other. So, using the same equation, my y values, alright, 1, 2, 3, 10, 7, 9, 11, 25, and between them, we match up our pairs using lines. Alright, it's pretty simple. Alright, and then my sixth and final way is to look at it in terms of domain and range. Alright, domain and range. Alright, my domain represents my value for x and my range represents my value for y. So the domain of this equation, or the data that we have, would be 1, 2, 3, and 10. And my range would be 7, 9, 11, and 25. And again, we could match those up. So, all of these are the exact same way of looking at the same data. And in fact, we can take any single one of these and we should be able to find all the rest. Alright? So we'll do that and we'll look at that in a later video. But I wanted you to see my 6 ways of representing data that we use quite often. An equation, a table, a graph, set notation, a mapping diagram, and domain and range. Alright, so thank you for watching, and next time we will talk about how to determine if information that is given to us in data is a function or not a function. And we'll even talk about what that means. Alright.